Hi, Tom here. Welcome to my new video, How to Draw Like Leonardo da Vinci. Da Vinci was an artist most famous for his painting the Mona Lisa, where he captures a smile in a subtle way. But Da Vinci was also interested in more than just a smile. He studied nature and was fascinated by all things. Da Vinci was taught by an artist called Andrea Verrocchio, and Da Vinci drew a picture of a warrior based on his teacher's drawings when he was just a young man. It is this drawing that I will show you now how to sketch. The first step is to place the basic shapes on the page. To do this, I start by drawing some of the loose lines that help me find out where the shapes are and how each shape relates to each other, so that I'm not drawing things in isolation. It is best to use these lines in a loose way because then they're more free-flowing. The original drawing by Leonardo da Vinci is in silver point, which was like an early form of pencil, but for this drawing that I'm doing, I'm basically using a 4B pencil and then occasionally a 6B pencil. And so in the helmet of this warrior, there's a large feather-like shape, or even a wing, which I've indicated to the right, and now I'll just place in where the eye might be, and work out some of the shapes around the profile of the nose, and how the nose goes into the mouth and then the roundness of the chin, working my way down on the left hand side here, naturally flowing along, and finding out how these lines interact with the back of the head and the curve of the helmet. And then at the top front of the chest armour there is a lion's face roaring out, so I'll just give a little indication of that and how that could be placed. And then at this stage it's a good idea, I guess, just to look around the drawing, see how things relate to each other, and then if you find a line like this line of the base of the helmet that goes to the circle which is just above the ear, I'll draw that in with a slightly thicker, harder, sharper edge, so that I've got at least one line which is a bit more secure than the looser lines that I started this drawing with. And now from that line, if I assume that that line is basically okay, I'll work out exactly where this eye goes. So I think the eye does need changing and moving around. So now I'm going to redraw the eye in relation to the base of the helmet and trying to get the intensity that Leonardo da Vinci found within the expression of the eye. And to do that, I need to really look carefully so that I can really understand, or at least try to work out, how Leonardo used these shapes to create the sense of tension within the drawing, the sense of personality within the warrior. So I'm thinking about the psychology of the warrior, but I'm also just looking at the shapes in a visual way as well. So now I've got to some extent, the top part of the face. I'll work down, I think now, round the area of the nose, working out the shape of the nose. Now, I'm not really trying to do an exact copy. I'm trying to get more a flavour of how it's drawn, so that it's a learning process, so that it helps me in my drawing understand how Leonardo da Vinci did his drawing. So it's really a learning process for me, and I think for your own drawings that would be the best way to see it for yourself. So it doesn't need to be a precise exact copy, but more a study where you've really been looking hard and trying to understand what you see. So there are all sorts of shapes around the profile silhouette of this soldier, and I'm just trying to do those as various parts of lines, trying to map it out. So from this stage on, most of the lines are quite a bit darker, but that's just because I'm pressing down more firmly with the pencil that I'm using. So I've got to some extent the profile, and now I'll do the sort of whiplash curve at the back of the helmet, and then later on it has all sorts of tassels and things which I'll add, but just trying to get that shape and the sort of bent quality of the lines along this area here, where it's got a series of little triangular shapes, and then that works up into the winged area of the helmet, and then there's a little natural leaf-like shape towards the top, and then a very spiky front. So again, just plotting things out at this stage, trying to relate one shape in relation to another, trying to get the intensity of the line where it's necessary. So at this stage, I have the basic structure in place, but I don't want to rely on anything being too accurate because I might need to change it. So working into this wing, which is within the armour of the helmet, it has these lines which are quite forceful lines which curve, and then they're interlinked in a sort of web-like shape. And then within them they also have patterns, little circles and smaller shapes. So as always with a drawing, we're starting with the biggest shapes, being quite loose with the biggest shapes, and then slowly breaking it down into various lines which you can be slightly more confident with, and then trying to relate all of these lines together to create a whole image. So at each stage now, where I'm starting to work on slightly smaller areas, I'm looking to try and make sure that the areas that I'm working on, for example the hairline, or the base of the neck, or how the neck relates to the armour, and linking it with the top of the helmet and how that relates to the other elements within this drawing. So at the very top of the helmet there's a circular leaf shape which I'll just sketch in, and then that links to some extent to the circle just above the ear of the warrior. So the shapes coming along, I haven't done any tone yet, but I need to work down into the armour at the base. But just before I do that, I'll give some indication of these flutters of flag-like little ribbons which are dangling and waving behind the helmet of the warrior. And just following the shapes, trying to copy the shapes, trying to understand what I draw. So at this stage as well, it's very useful to start to think about how we're going to add tone later on. So some things will definitely need tone, so I won't be doing that now, but I'll just be thinking about it a little bit as I'm drawing. So the neck is sort of created by the base plates of the chest of the armour, and then towards the front of the armour there's a magnificent lion's head roaring, so that gives a lot of power to the expression of the soldier's face, to have this roaring lion. The sculpture that the drawing by Verrocchio is based on, it must have been a magnificent thing to see. The warrior has always been one of my favourite drawings by Leonardo da Vinci, and I first found it in a book that my dad had. And I remember looking through this book and being fascinated by these amazing drawings, and thinking that really, if I want to learn to draw, what would be better than trying to copy some of the drawings in this book? So I remember when I was 15, I turned to this page of the warrior, and I just thought, what a magnificent drawing, and I'd love to be able to understand how it works, not to make a copy, not to be Leonardo, but just to understand how drawing can be. So to get back to my drawing, I can see I've still got a long way to go on this drawing, but the basic structure is more or less there. I'll speed up the video now a little bit. And so the drawing at this stage just needs some more details and structure to the details, and then a little indication of tone, and I'll do that just with a 6B pencil or maybe a 4B pencil, and use the eraser or my finger just to smudge it a little bit so that it creates a subtle range of tones. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you find it useful for your own drawing, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Circle Line Art School, for over 100 different videos on how to draw and a new video each week. Please follow the links below in the description of other videos that you might enjoy.